The 2021 virtual Coppa Paolino Teodori Hill Climb is presented in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Elite Gaming, ESTV, and MotorVision.tv.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
and a finish just over 1,000 metres, nearly 1,100 metres is the finish up at San Giacomo. The actual finish of the climb, San Giacomo, is a little bit further around the bend than where we finish, so the top of this climb I think is bang on 1,100 metres, but we're finishing at 1,080 instead, just chopping off those 20 metres, just to make things a little bit easier, because after all, you can't just go flying off the top of this mountain. They do have to slow down at some point, so that does allow for them to do that. And in real life, obviously, take quite a winding road. As I'm looking at our maps at the moment, it's actually even more technical than the actual course we go up here today to get back to where the start is. In a very mountainous region of central Italy, I have to say. When you think of Italy and mountains, you think of the Alps, of course, towards the north, and you'd be right to do so, like the Trento Bontone, which we climbed earlier on. I think it's about 15 kilometres in length, if I remember correctly. Something like that. It's a ridiculously long climb. But we come to the Apennine mountain range, which stretches, I guess you could say, stretches all the way from maybe Genoa, all the way down to pretty much the bottom of Italy. Don't get too many really flat places in Italy until you get up towards the likes of Bologna and Milan, and the roads connecting those cities, Turin and Venice. It's all quite flat through all of there, but the area we are today, very hilly indeed. Near San Benedetto di Tronto, which is on the east coast, the nearest city, and Rome is just over the mountains to the west of us right now as well. And indeed, you see this area, especially at the top. It's not a lot of stuff growing. You'll see it's quite barren up towards the top. No trees around or anything when we get to the very top of this climb, but it is in fact surrounded by 3 taller mountains, the west to the south and the east. It looks like we do have a bit of picture break up at the moment. We'll try and get that to you in a couple of moments. I'll get those pictures back to you, but yeah, I'll say 3 actual taller mountains. You can't actually drive up them. Well, not on very big roads anyway. You might be able to walk up them or whatever, but pretty good driving roads. It's kind of surrounded by it on 3 sides, and see the side that's not surrounded is where Ascoli Piceno is. This climb, when it was introduced into the European Hill Climb Championship all the way back in 1962, we're approaching on its 60th anniversary of being in this championship. It was a pretty good deal longer, because it started from Ascoli itself and then made its way up the climb. Would probably almost double the length of this climb. Maybe not quite that extreme, but certainly near towards that, getting that way. Then after 26 years of running it like that, they moved the climb a little bit. When they were starting in Ascoli, they used the first half, so they finished it where we start here today. They've used the bottom half of it, climb from Ascoli to Colle San Marco. But they decided to, or at least the organisers wanted to go to the top, right to the very top, to San Giacomo in 1986. And so to make the climb a reasonable distance, they moved the start up the hill a little bit as well. So they didn't start in Ascoli anymore, but Piaghi, where they used to start, which is maybe a couple of kilometres down the mountain compared to where we are at Colle San Marco. And then after about 10 years of that, they decided to move it up to where we have it now, and where we've had it up until the present day, where indeed the last 3 times we've climbed it, the Osella has taken victory. I can't see that changing here today for us on our Factor 2 either. do excuse the technical difficulties going on, by the way, at the moment that we're having, but we'll have those live pictures to you in a few moments' time. I can tell you that Sebastian Renat in that Osella, as I was mentioning, is still leading in qualifying right now. He's taken all of the victories bar one in this championship, where Ludovic Farud was the winner. Of course, that was on the Reshberg second round. Farud was the favourite and ended up spinning around and getting stuck, actually, which not only lost him first place to Renat, but second as well to Karate. That could be a very important 3 points to the Swiss driver come the end of the season. But let's wait and see on that one. It was also in a cellar, so not only have we had that car winning every single race this season, we've also had the French dominating. It's been all French winners at the front of that category, and he did the overalls. Of course, Antonis Paranopoulos is looking to try and get 2 titles here for Greece in this year. All 5 of the drivers' championships have been taken by different nationalities. But we do have, because obviously John Spider is winning for Greece in Group H. Paranopoulos is going to try and do the same in E1 plus 2000. But at the moment, I can't see him quite on the server. We've got 25 drivers here right now, but not one of them goes by the name of Antonis Paranopoulos, unfortunately. At the moment in that category, it's Bashadov, Andrei and Malice, 1, 2 and 3. And Bashadov got a good 2 seconds on his rival Andrei. They were going really toe-to-toe at the start of the season, if you remember. Trading race wins and second places. The first 3 rounds, they were inseparable. And after 5 rounds, they were only separated by 10 points. But then Bashadov really started to pull away. And for the next 4 rounds, he gained 10 points per round. And Andrei has not really been able to recover since from that one. Even when Bashadov got a donut next to his name in Slovenia, Andrei also fell afoul of the same course. So it was dreamland for Paranopoulos, and indeed George Malice, who managed to pick up only his second place of the year. But no, it's a 2-horse race. It's a 2-horse race in that class. The story of Group H was a very, very interesting one, I have to say. Early on, a number of drivers were separated by fine margins towards the start of the championship. After 3 rounds, we had John Spider, Vincent Toucoula, Philippe Raab, Julien Delage, all very much in contention. But since then, they've all fallen by the wayside. As I mentioned, Toucoula missing 4 rounds in a row didn't help. And by the time he was back again, it was too late for him. Far, far too late, I'm afraid. We welcome back the live pictures right now. Eric Tuttle is currently leading Group H. He's only got 3 tenths over Viktor Hristov and 5 tenths over Andros Roosevelt, so it's very, very close in that one. David Dupre is only 1.4 down in the Opel Ascona. Dupre, a bit of a late entry to the season, but he's been doing his thing. He's from Belgium apparently, so must be from the French-speaking part of Belgium, I guess, with a name like that. But we could just be... Oh my goodness! It doesn't look like Eric Tuttle to me. It doesn't look like the Simcoe Rally 3. It might be Dupre I was just talking about, actually. Looks like it could be. It is. Oh dear. Yeah. Into the trees. And the Opel Ascona just got away from him really there. Not quite sure what that was all about, but he's back out there anyway. Oh no, Dupre's still actually not returned to the pit lane yet, as far as I can see, unless he is in there now. But either way, he's had a big accident there. John Spider, our champion in waiting, is fifth in Group H at the moment, waiting to go. He's in the queue to be let out onto the course here for qualifying. And as you can see, it opens out not only in terms of the tree line towards the top of the San Giacomo climb, but also in terms of the pace that these guys can attack the course with, really opening the taps there late on. Got that final right-hand hairpin, and then it's a long left-hander, sweeping left-hander, right to the end where maximum commitment is needed. See, I think I said this a couple of weeks ago, but we often talk about these courses having a section in the middle where there's a long straight and technical sections towards the end or towards the start or whatever, but for me, looking at this climb here, it's all technical. Not necessarily slow speed kind of technical, but obviously there are some technical sections. Andre at second place right now, as I mentioned. It's 26 cars connected right now. I'm keeping an eye on the bottom of the list because I'm holding out hope that we will see Antonis Paranopoulos here, but you never know what's going on really. But as I say, there are some high-speed sections and a little bit of room for a bit of kicking up the dirt there. Opens out and then a couple of trees to keep them busy, and then that is the final hairpin. This is the long left-hander to end off that I'm talking about. Quite flat out in all of the cars. We saw earlier with Eric Tuttle, he was right on the limit. And there's split screen at the moment with Tuttle and Rodriguez. Both of them leading their respective categories right now. Here's Tuttle. As I mentioned, it's very, very close in Group H, and I have to say it's exceptionally close between Corratti and Mark Best. Those two fighting for second place in the E2 3000 category championship. Right on points coming in here. Winner takes all between the two of them. Tuttle just extended his margin at the front of that category to a second, actually. Corratti just begins a lap. I was referring to Tuttle's previous lap time, by the way, rather than the current climb that he's taking on, but that doesn't look hopeful for a better run. It looks like he's lost his rear right wheel guard there, wheel arch. Very exposed on the rear right there now. Oh, and dear, he's going to be even more exposed now. Into the trees he goes, I'm afraid. And that's going to be back to the garages again for him. Guedes making his debut in the European Hill Climb Championship here at the finale. Getting to grips with the San Giacomo climb, and I don't know if he quite made it to the climbing line there. But either way, it was a spectacular accident. As Ristov is coming towards the end of his run right now. One of the very few occasions on this calendar where you can actually use a bit of the real estate on the inside and outside of corners. You really haven't seen that very often. It's normally barriers, banks and cliff edges normally, but this time you can kick up the dirt just a little bit. Here's the final long left-hander. Pushed off nicely through it. And to see where he might have gone in the order with a time like that. Didn't look like it was any better. And he stays third for the moment. Yeah, as I mentioned, the battle in E2 3000s is very interesting. Karate and Best are separated by 15 thousandths of a second right now. There is Karate in the top left, in the top right hand side of the screen. We're going to see some net breaking stuff up that end of the screen, I think, over the next couple of moments. And Mark Best also out there. Let's have a look at a bit of a ride on board here. We might be waiting a while because one of the slower categories just went in front of Karate here, and obviously we don't want a traffic jam, so it's going to have to wait a moment or three. Oh dear, Mark Best is not really improving, I'm afraid. Saw him slam the wall there. But here's Karate. And obviously his person's head is going to get in the way ever so slightly here, but it's a good technical view at the technical nature of this course. Quite Formula 1 style camera placement there, is it, from the never mind. Either way, Karate's focused on the job, of course. See the offboard shot in the top right. Quite steep out of that hairpin there, always tends to be. A little bit of a jump, a little bit of a hop over the crest there. As I mentioned, one of the steeper inclines we've had throughout this season, and it's even oh dear me, quite bumpy as well, but yeah, even steeper towards the bottom here because it just flattened out a little bit towards the top, so forget about the 7.5% I was talking about earlier. Getting steeper than that, and you've got to account for the bit at the end. It's a bit wide and into the bank. That's some serious height gained by Karate there, and he's lost all of it very quickly, I'm afraid. And that's that lap time down the drain for him, I'm afraid. So looked like it was going fairly well. But until it all wasn't really. Here is Mikko Hristov. We were talking about him and looking at him a little bit earlier on. Third place right now, just a tenth off of Andrus Rossival, and about a second behind Eric Tatol. As I mentioned, the top five for either Renat or Tatol will do in terms of getting that team's championship for Equipe Regal, and it's looking very, very likely that will take place as things stand. Since there's only 3 cars in the top category, the one which Renat resides in is looking fairly safe there. No sign of Antonis Paranopoulos and that is a big worry. Of course, he can join the Heat 2 for his first run in Heat 2 if he wants to, because the best 2 times count here tonight is instead of all 3 like we've had on roughly half of the occasions this season. But yeah, it's difficult to see championship changing in that if that indeed is going to be true. Alessandro, by the way, is too far back from Paranopoulos to actually do anything. If there was going to be a no score for the Greek driver here tonight, but looking increasingly likely that that will be the case, because the final few times of qualifying are going to be coming through here shortly. Only 24 drivers connected, and quite a lot of them out there on the course. So, a short while till we get qualifying over with, and then the first heat beginning. And we're just trying to get as much practice in as possible, I guess. Out here at the moment. Trying to judge if there are any real contenders for some of the categories we often know the winner of as we look at Depre at the moment. Looks like we might be just about transitioning into the second heat, the first heat in a few moments' time. So before that all happens, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And then when we return, hopefully the first runs of this hill climb proper will be beginning.
The 2021 virtual Coppa Paolino Teodori hill climb is presented in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Elite Gaming, ESTV, and MotorVision.tv.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Welcome back to the Coppa Paolino Teodori hill climb here in Italy. We've just about timed this one right because Heat 1 is about to get underway in the next few moments. Qualifying has happened over the last few moments, and I can tell you that Sebastian Renat is going to be rolling off first, as he has done pretty much since the start of this championship, really. From round 3 I can remember him taking these pole positions in inverted commas for these heats. First in the running order, ahead of Francois Corratti. I think Mark Best is going to be third, but he's had a bit of a connection problem there, so he's dropped all the way to the bottom of our timing screens, and probably yours as well, on the left-hand side of your screen. But he will be rolling off third, ahead of Bashudorf, Andre and Malice, the three E1 plus 2000 cars. But where are they going to be, or where is Antonis Paranopoulos is what I want to know. And yeah, it's not looking good for his championship charge. In that case, we were hoping for a fantastic finale between the two of them, with only 9 points separating them coming into today, but it's not looking good for Paranopoulos here. Just having a look at some highlights from the last hour in the top right hand side of your screen, if you can just about peer into the view there. There were some quite big crashes, it has to be said, and we might well be having a couple of looks at some highlights, especially towards the end of our event here tonight, when all the heats are over and done with, and everybody has been up this San Giacomo climb 3 times from Ascoli Piceno in Italy. As I mentioned, we're just a little bit northwest from Rome, in the Apennine region of Italy. A very hilly region, lots of famous climbs, lots of famous towns around and nearby. So yeah, it's not often recognised by people outside of Italy, because obviously everyone wants to go to the north, and Milan and Venice and Rome, obviously, which is not quite in the north, but they don't often come to the Apennine hills. They want to go to the Alps or the Dolomites or so on. But these are some very challenging ones in their own right, very twisty as you've seen, and quite bumpy. I seem to notice when we were on board with Francois Corratti, is suspension working overtime there. And don't forget, it's not great on those more prototype looking cars like the Norma he's driving. Looking for the race marshal to get into position before we can continue on with anything else. That's what the wait is around for at the moment. And they will be ready for the final 3 runs of this 2021 championship. We've had 32 out of 35 runs so far in anger for all of these guys. It's far more than that. These guys have probably done more than that in one qualifying session throughout the year. Some names you might not recognise quite as much towards the bottom, like Nelson Ignacio, like you can see on your screen there. Maybe John Canelopoulos as well. You don't recognise quite as well as Bruno Guedes. We've already got a view of him making his debut here today. Flo Milo, like he's making his debut in the Simca Rally 3 as well. A car that's looking quite strong. It's Eric Tattel who's taken the first position in qualifying with that very same car. There is Flo. In what is once again the biggest category of this meeting, 11 Group H special cars, making up the 24 cars we have currently connected to the server. Hopefully we can get them all to the end of this one. We've had good numbers throughout this Hill Climb Championship for 2021. We've had a bit of a dip in the middle, but I feel like a bit of a resurgence towards the end. Group H has been so popular, with so many drivers taking part. To my knowledge, 33 drivers had entered a Group H car, and that's before this round. I think we can add Bruno Guedes to that list. I think it's more than 33. And 31 drivers have scored a point, with 32 competing in an event. So it's been an astonishing uptake from those in Group H as the pace car gets itself into position. Yeah, it's been very, very enjoyable indeed. More than 50 drivers taking part over the course of the championship overall. And yeah, we hope we will have a similar situation next year. It's quite an early start actually, next year's championship, about I think it's the 10th of January. So over a month of break, about 5 weeks. Sebastian Renat, for those 5 weeks, is going to be basking in the glory of what is going to be the European Hill Climb title. He has been dominant this season, as I mentioned. 10 race wins in a row now, looking to make it 11. He's going to hold the record for the most race wins in a row over this season, no matter what happens here today. And it will be purely shocking to see him not on the top of the standings in 2 hours' time. Technical calls here today up from the Colla San Marco to San Giacomo at the top of the hill. I guess it's more of a mountain if you count the whole of it. We're starting about halfway up one here today. You see the cars are kind of parked on the side of the road where they start, because it's not really a town or village. That's why Karate gets underway for what is a very important day for him. He needs to beat Mark Best for second place in that championship. Only 15 thousandths of a second separated them in qualifying. Let's see if it is also that close after 3 heats of racing here this evening. And making his way through the first half of the course without difficulty, and now he can open the taps just a little bit more open, although still technical. These high-speed corners are very much to the liking of the Acela and the Norma, but more so the Acela. The disadvantage they have, of course, not really being able to use the dirt either side of the road to get yourself turned in. It's not really the thing that you would do in one of these cars. They're so low, they're so reliant on downforce, you don't really need to slide it around like some of the other guys will be doing a little bit later on. Renat's coming through the final corner though and steams over the line. You can see why they end the course a little bit earlier than the climb actually ends itself, because the speed they're carrying at the top there is quite frightening. But Sebastian Renat does a 1 minute 37.0, 57.0, and it will be very impressive to see him pushed off at the top of there. Francois Coretti in the top right hand side is having a very, very important few minutes here. Where is this first time going to take him? Over the line for a start, and it's probably not as good as Renat, but surprises are possible. And encouraged, of course. But I don't think Norma is going to be causing an upset for its first race win of the season. And with a 5.8 second gap up to Renat, that does back up that sentiment. Oh my goodness me! I've just looked back to the screen, and Mark Best is practicing gymnastics, I'm afraid. With that Norma, cartwheeling down the road. So a DNF on the first run, and all but the pressure is on Bess towards the end of this now. He has got to beat Karate here today if he wants second place in this championship. Speaking of championships, the one Tobias Bashadorf is in the closest so far this season. However, doesn't look like Antonis Paranopoulos is going to be here to do anything about that for the final round. It's such a shame to see. It'll be only the second round Paranopoulos has missed. It would even it out, I suppose, with Bashadorf's 2 DNFs, but German has more control over those than the Greek driver likely has over this here this afternoon. But of course, the battle for another race victory is up for grabs. Bashadorf has had 6 so far. He's won half of the races, half of the events, looking to make that more than half. Very impressive record if he could indeed manage it in such a competitive category. With the likes of Agios Andre and George Mallis also competing in it, does make it very impressive indeed. Germany is going to take the long left-hander towards the end and come over the line. Our timing screen just has to wait for it to update for a couple of moments before we can get the proper time. We're on board with Chris Bennett though. Another good view of how bumpy it is, with another car that's not really built for this kind of punishment. It's a 12.3 for Bashadorf in the first run, by the way, and Agios Andre is going to try and do a little bit better. So is George Mallis, you can see on the right hand side of your screen as well. Andre not able to, 3.6 seconds down. He was doing a little bit better than Mallis in the qualifying as well, so expecting Bashadorf to be having things his own way here, and he is indeed. Mallis is nearly 3 seconds away from Andre himself, so the German looking very comfortable once again at the top of E1 Plus 2000. Time to go and have a look at slower categories, but they are going to be a lot closer and hopefully very, very entertaining as always. Group H always goes down to the wire. Very rarely is it a complete runaway victory for anybody. As mentioned by the championship standings, really, Bider's managed to win 4 races this season, but for a driver who's having a championship all his own way, more than 70 points of a lead, you'd expect him to maybe have won more than that. It just shows how good this category has been so far. Eric Tatol has come second on 2 occasions to Spider and then Andrus Roosevelt, the Hungarian, and they're only separated by 1 point in the championship at the moment. So the battle for third in the standings is definitely on, with Patrick Fossey, who currently holds that one at the moment, but he's not having... Well, he didn't have a great qualifying. Can't rule him out just yet, but didn't have a fantastic qualifying. The speed he takes through that final left-hander does mean that he has to be careful. Oh, and after the line, well, I suppose it doesn't really matter. He can spin onto the car park all he wants, but let's just show you how out of control they are coming up the hill there. At least through the final moments of it. .22.9, we'll call it for Tatol. Pablo Rodriguez is out there as well for the first of the E1 2000 cars. Valadis Corrales looks like he's the only one who's really going to be able to challenge him in this one. And David Dupre is on your screen right now in the Opel Ascona. Not particularly nimble through those technical sections. The quick succession of corners cutting him out a little bit there. And we had this earlier with Dupre for some reason. Wasn't quite wanting to share his correct name, but here we are. Andres Roosevelt is just up towards the top of the climb now as well. We'll see if this is going to be close in Group H this evening or not. It'll be a very early indication, of course, but it'll be quite a telling one. Ah, wow. It's half a second quicker for Andres Roosevelt. Wasn't expecting that, judging by qualifying performance, so that is a pleasant surprise for everybody apart from Tato, really. This is Mitko Hristov. And here is the final long left-hander as well I was talking about. Opens out, very recognisable, instantly recognisable really. A little bit of a straight and then a long tightening left-hander to end it off. And then a finish round the bend as well. Javi Rodriguez has got his first time in as well. We'll see if Valadis Corrales is anywhere near to that. I'm afraid Mitko Hristov is not very close to the front two. 1.4 down on Roosevelt. Opens the door for David Dupre and John Spider, really. Martins all the way down the Group H field were very, very close in qualifying. There's no reason to suggest that it won't be like that in the heats as well. Dupre has indeed got his time in here, and I'm afraid it's not quite where he'd like to be. 3.5 seconds down. Spider should be able to at least slot himself into fourth, you would imagine. See him on your screen at the moment. More than a little dab of the brakes there from Spider, actually. Seen some more commitment from some others, I have to say, but at least he's got to the top for the first time. He can go hell for leather a little bit later on, because you do have to complete two of the times at least. Oh dear. Off the road, I think that's Philip Raab. It is. Raab not having a good time, and John Spider wasn't having a good time there either. He's clearly had some kind of problem because he's over 10 seconds down. But it's not been textbook from everybody in Group H so far, I think it's fair to say. And Raab's time here is not going to be anything to write home about at all, I'm afraid to say. 6th place in the championship, starting himself off with 3 second places, but he's not been in the top 5 since. Slipped out of the top 3 in the championship as well, and this kind of performance is not going to be helping. Patrick Fossey retires after his first run here, so he's clearly had an off somewhere as well. Ah, yes. That's Molo with no front end on that Simca Rally 3. Now he's been into the barriers as well somewhere. Started off very orderly at the front of this field, but and it's not continuing well for Molo, I'm afraid. As I mentioned, started off very, very orderly, but if you go further down, mistakes are starting to creep in. Got one more braking zone to go, and then up towards the very fast sweeper to end. So we'll see what the time's going to be. I think this is Philip Robb getting back underway again. There's a 47.2 for him. Miles away from where he wants to be. Good 25 seconds down. That might not be Philip Robb, unless we're watching delayed pictures. We are indeed on a replay. And Milo was even slower than Robb, I'm afraid, after all of the bodywork he lost on the way. Valagis Corrales looks like he's retired from his first run. So does Fossi and Ludovic Calvé. So absolute disasters happening for a lot of these guys by the looks of things. I already count 6-7 drivers who have had interruptions in their first run in the form of a mistake that they have made for some description, for some reason. Here's Pedro Robello in the VW Golf E1 2000 car. This is, so trying to challenge Javi Rodriguez if you can. But good luck with that. Louis Lecras tried to do that with Peugeot 306, trying to get up towards the front, and just over 5 seconds down on Rodriguez for Lecras. And Rebelo only half a second down, so those two might be able to have a good fight between themselves. Is Nelson Ignacio. Trying to get it stopped without locking the rears entirely. Has managed that through the final hairpin. And then up towards the top, he might well be the penultimate or third last person to come across the line here. So there he is, and only man out there at the moment, John Canelopoulos in the BMW 2000. Not sure if Pedro Barbosa still has the time to go, but either way, before Heat 2 begins, it's time we took a quick commercial break. We'll be back for the top runners in the second heat in a few moments' time. I'm back on the swing again.
The 2021 virtual Coppa Paolino Teodori Hill Climb is presented in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Elite Gaming, ESTV, and MotorVision.tv.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
Welcome back to the Coppa Paolino Teodori here in Italy, the final hill climb of the year in 2021. We've just ended Heat 1. We're getting into the second one now. Sebastian Renat was the fastest at the front, as you would expect. Francois Corratti was second. Mark Best didn't get a lap time in, importantly, for that category. So he's going to have to do a little bit better in this second one. In the E1 plus 2000, we had Tomasz Bashadov taking more than a 3-second lead, and if we get through this round of runs here for everybody without Antonis Paranopoulos making a performance, then making an appearance, then Bashadov is going to be crowned champion. And it's not going to quite look as close as this season has been crying out for. A bit of a... Not sure if this was in... Oh dear, that's a tree for somebody there. This is from qualifying a little bit earlier on. But the changeover between the two heats here is not as long as it is between qualifying and the heats, because we don't have to resort the running order again. We just have to position the race director's car, basically. And we can get going again for a second run. Second opportunity for many. Quite a lot of them to get it right for the first time. Bruno Guedes was the last of the drivers, see on the left-hand side of your screen, who would be relatively pleased with their lap time. Everybody below that had a mistake of some description, I would have said. Although it's hard to be across everything at the same time. We do know that Group H is going to be very, very good here this evening. Half a second separating Roosevelt and Tatol in that last run. That is promising. There was some spectacular crashes in qualifying, as we saw. That was Guedes, the most recent replay you saw. And then this, when we finally got into the heats themselves, the first one. Sebastian Renat doing his thing. Now making contact ever so slightly with the barriers there. And Mark Best making contact with just about everything there, I'm afraid. Getting out onto the bank, spiralling out of control. Came from the judges, I think, but not quite what he would have wanted for the sake of his time. This is Philip Raab as well in the orange Opel. Didn't quite catch this myself. I know you did on the at home. Actually went over a couple of times, as well as spun around. So that's why he was so far down. He was about 15 seconds off by the end, maybe a bit more, 25. Quite possibly. Waiting for Sebastian Renat, by the way, to get himself... there he is. Just as I say that. He's ready. And he's here. And he's off. All at the very same time. And we'll be trying to consolidate this 5.8 second lead he's built up over Francois Corratti. As I mentioned earlier, gunning for his 11th round victory in a row here this evening. In months after month of dominance from him. So I can't quite remember the date of the first round, but I'm pretty sure he hasn't lost since late May. And when you put it like that, you do begin to understand that it's a very, very impressive achievement. Obviously the Acela has been the car to pick this season by the looks of things. It looks like it's going to be a complete whitewash of victories for them. But you can't take anything away from Runat. He hasn't made any mistakes throughout, especially those ones where all 3 lap times count. Obviously those days are the ones where you do have to be very attentive indeed, and Runat's done exactly that. You don't have more than 160 points over your rivals for no reason. Wrapped up this championship a long, long time ago. The real battle is on the right hand side of your screen. Karate versus Best, and the pressure really goes over to Mark Best. I would have said Canadian needs to get a time in of any description for a start here, because he DNF'd on his first run, and so he cannot afford to do that again. No difference in the machinery being used on the right hand side as Runat completes. But here's the man in question, a little bit wide through that hairpin there. Very bumpy, and often you do want to take a little bit of a wider line, but not quite like that. Pressure is on for both of these guys, and you can expect mistakes at this stage. Oh dear, he scrapes the guardrail as well. Just keeping it under control. Karate is about to complete his run here. Mark Best chasing him down all the way. He's not actually that far behind him on the road here. Got a short distance between the two. Either way, Runat and Karate both slightly slower than their previous attempts by pretty much exactly the same amount of time. Mark Best hasn't got anything to compare to just yet, but he does need something. Oh, he loses half a second to Karate. Not good news for Best, but it's not over yet. Weißendorfer's got 3.6 seconds over Agius Andre coming in here, and he's got the title within his grasp. One hand on the trophy, as they say. What he's got to do is keep it on the road for this lap time, and he can go hell for leather in half an hour's time. We look forward to seeing that. Nice and controlled through the final section of the lap. And Agius Andre is going to try and reduce the deficit by some of the 3.6 seconds that's appeared. For now, he might be able to. Weißendorfer was a second slower that run. But even if Andre went a second faster, he'd still be slower, and he's not going to because he's not got a front right wheel anymore. Those final few corners collecting a victim there, I believe. Oh, George Malice gets that hairpin a little bit wrong. Let's have a look at the replay. It was indeed at the final corner. It's so tricky. It tightens on the way around. Ah, yeah. Looks like he almost lost his bearings as to where he was there, because he was not taking a line that would be in any way normal around there. He only actually lost 2.1 seconds. He actually beat George Malice on that run, even so. But still, it looked like he just thought that was the kink before the actual tightening left-hander that we've all been talking about all day. And so, instead of keeping it to the right-hand side to really open out that corner as much as possible, he was just trying to take the shortest route through, as you would if it was indeed that kink, but obviously not, so Andre loses a bit of time, and Weißendorfer extends his lead out in that category. And indeed, there's only a few minutes left for Paranopoulos to get in here and save the championship, but even so, I think it would be very, very difficult for him to do so. Even if he did join at this point. Here's Eric Tatol, having a much better time at things. Certainly than Hagias Andre was during his point at this lap. It's a few tenths better than he managed in his first run, and he'll be delighted about that. He's going to have a big battle with Andrus Roosevelt here today, I believe. Javier Rodriguez looking in control as he has done all season. Not quite on the same winning streak as Sebastian Renard. He was until he came late on the Trento Bondone event. He arrived late and didn't quite get up to speed. So he lost out on that particular one to Ivan Moro. Poor Valadis Corrales wasn't at that one either. It's 6 second places for him. He wasn't able to get one that time either. There is Roosevelt, and he's over the line, and he's got another half second on Eric Tatol there. A nice job from the Hungarian. And he's extended that lead out to a second in the order right now. I do apologise for the bit of picture breakup we've got once again. Trying to get the timing to work on the left-hand side, the leaderboard to work at the moment. So I'll be keeping an eye on the live timing, as you can do at home indeed, on timing.gtr24h.org, and if you click Hill Climb when you're presented with the 3 options, then you'll be away, and you'll be able to see the same that I can. Better or worse. Here's Mikko Hristov again. He lost 1.4 to Roosevelt in the first run, so he does need to gain something back here. But can he? It is not quite as good as Roosevelt, I'm afraid. 6 attempts down once again, but he does... Oh, he's actually lost a little bit to Tatol as well, I'm afraid. He's now a second down on Tatol. 1, 2, 3 looking pretty sorted as things stand. David Dupre didn't have the ideal run this time, last heat. Doing all that he can there, kicking up the dust behind. Maybe into the faces of others behind him, let's wait and see. It comes in nearly 4 seconds down though, but as I mentioned, it wasn't quite where we'd expect to see him last time. We're now getting down towards the guys who had problems in the previous runs. Dupre with a much better time there. About a second and a half better. He can stand up to the challenge of John Spider here and Philip Raab, who are going to be challenging, of course, for that podium position. Sorry, for that 4th place position, just off the podium. It would only be the 4th time John Spider's finished off the podium all season, and that would certainly indicate and give us a clue as to how he's managed to win this championship. Oh! Big accident there for somebody. Chris Bennett. And that's bodywork you can see on your screen now, because it's all been moved out of place. Got very out of shape there, did Chris Bennett. And obviously, since he's getting to the line now, he's going to be winning again in this category. Only he has competed in so far this season, and indeed throughout the entirety of the season. Here's John Spider, champion in waiting. Through the final corner. dab on the brakes. Could have left a bit of tarmac to the right-hand side of the road there, so could have pushed a little bit harder, but obviously wants to get to the end here with a respectable time rather than a 2:33.5, which is what he did the first time. He's got a 2:24.3 this time. And that is slightly better than Dupre. It's going to be a good fight between the two of them towards the final run, I think. We'll see if Philip Raab can get involved in that. This is Flo Mello. Where has Philip Raab gone? I don't think he's actually in the server anymore, Philip Raab. So that might well be the end of that one. Valadis Corrales has got to the end of the run this time as well, but he's nearly 5 seconds down on his long-time rival Javi Rodriguez. And yeah, we really don't have that many runs here to go. Pedro Barbosa was the last driver to get out there last time around. You can presume it's going to be the same once again, although I didn't see David Tashev out there at all last time. Had a decent spell actually in the championship. Decent start. Podiums in all 4 of the first 4. Then he's not been here since the 5th round of the championship, so it's been a good few weeks, maybe 3 or 4 months since he's stepped foot in this championship, but it's good to have him back. Flo Mello getting to the end this time with more body parts than he had previous time, I'm glad to say. There's 26.3 there, very respectable that time. Or hill climb, I'm not entirely sure how to say that, but there we are. Got Pedro Rebello out there at the moment with Nelson Ignacio, Ludwig Calve, who's coming towards the line. Oh dear, very front biased. VW Golf not enjoying that one there, I'm afraid. I think this might well be Rebello. And this is instead Ignacio. Calve does a 28.8, so nothing to really write home about, but he's got a time on the board, unlike the first heat, fortunately. Waiting for Patrick Fossey to set a lap here as well, because he didn't in the first heat, and I thought he was higher in the order than this. Interesting. Well, Bruno Guedes has come over the line, I think, with no time just yet. Oh no, he's just started, excuse me. Rebello over the line. As you can see, David Tashev it was I was looking at. 3rd place for him. 10 seconds down on Corrales, so disaster for him really. Pedro Barbosa also leaves. He's normally the final man to leave as well, so we'll see what happens with that. Rebello does a 27.7 as Nelson Ignacio comes over the line. We're really coming to the end of Heat 2 already. Flying past us, flying past our face there. In very quick succession. Bruno Guedes and Pedro Barbosa are out there right now. We're going to update you on those times when we come back, but we're setting ourselves up for the 3rd and final heat of this championship, the 35th run in the European Hill Climb Championship for 2021. Make sure you're back for it. We'll be taking a couple of moments out here for the commercials, but make sure you join us for the final heat in a few moments.
The 2021 virtual Coppa Paolino Teodori Hill Climb is presented in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot. Elite Gaming, ESTV, and MotorVision.tv.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Welcome back to the Coppa Paolino Teodori in Italy. The final heat of 2021 for the European Hill Climb Championship is about to get underway. We've just seen this in the break. I'm sure you've seen it on the split screen. Bruno Guedes had a very similar accident. Well, this is his one in qualifying. We've just seen a very similar one in Heat 2 in the last few moments. Here's some of the highlights from Heat 1. He's going to be making some more highlights in Heat 3 in a moment, so we'll obviously keep our eyes peeled for that one. Over 20 drivers who make their final climbs up the hill for 2021. As I mentioned, there's been 35 heats this season. Not all of them have counted towards the overall times, but see, a lot have, and it's been a very, very difficult season for everybody. So we can confirm now, since the second heats are over, this is a dead rubber really, the final heats here, because the team's championship have been wrapped up. It's very unlikely Eric Tatol is going to fall out of the top 5, but it's impossible for Sebastian Raya to fall out of the top 5, I guess. Miracles might happen, could happen, and he could finish third, I suppose, if Karate and Best really do motor on in the final heat here, but not looking likely. The team's championship looks sorted, and Paranopoulos, since he's not here at all, is not looking good in taking that title in E1 plus 2000. So for the first time and only time here tonight, let's have a bit of an onboard view. And here it is, Sebastian Renard in the Osella FA30. Our champion in waiting of E2 SESS 3000 making his way up the climb towards San Giacomo, out of Colle San Marco and into the technical first part. A bit more slow speed than the second, where you can open the taps a little bit more, but it's all arms and legs here for Renard right now. Oh, and into the outside wall. We've not seen that very often. The curse of the camera, I think, is just got him there, and he's out wide again. He's already got 2 times on the board, and it's very unlikely he'll be overhauled in this particular event. So he can afford to take a few risks, and that looks like he's what he's going to do. The way he glides through those hairpins is just like nobody else can in this field. Oh, you can see the insides of these hairpins are very, very sharp, very steep, and you do want to avoid them. The more high-speed section here is just opens out towards the top. The weather can be quite grisly up here as well, I must admit, but we've got static weather here this afternoon because this race obviously postponed from August. If you think the weather looks a little bit strange for this time of year, because it's not this time of year as far as the game's concerned. Here is Francois Corratti. Oh dear, and he's off. This is a replay. And if Mark Best were able to do a 2-minute 2.2 or faster, then he would get second place. Oh, goodness. And it's all going wrong for Sebastian Renard as well, who's... Well, I suppose it's an acrobatic celebration, but... After the flag... He's gone over and over again. Into the guardrail, tips up into the air, and... Bit of a strange dance, really, that, isn't it? But... He just crossed the finish line, and that time won't count. As you saw, it was a bit of a scruffy lap by his standards, but either way, he can now officially enjoy the championship victory. Francois Corratti is just hoping Mark Best can't do this 2-minute 2.2 or faster. Over the line for Best. Is it going to be good enough for the Canadian to get second place in the championship, or will it be Francois Corratti? Oh, it is going to be Mark Best. A fantastic lap right towards the end has secured him second place in the championship by only 0.3 of a second. A fantastic lap right towards the end. We didn't see very much of it, but it was clearly very fast, and it's enough for him to be second in this championship. A great effort from him, and Corratti has his heart broken right at the end. Tobias Bashadov could have been in for a very long evening here today, because he could have had all the pressure on him in his respective championship, but it's not turned out like that at all. He's taken not only the championship by what's looking like 32 points, he's going to take quite a comfortable round victory as well. George Mallis here needs a mid 2-minute 15 if he wants to overhaul Agius Andre, who's not been able to set a lap time in this final heat either. A lot of people just pushing hell for leather since the season's over, and just not going well for some of them, I have to say. George Mallis, bit of a tight line going through there on the left hand side, but he comes over the line either way. And he does get into the 16s. But it's not enough for him to get second on the day. He'll finish 4th in the championship. Eric Tato, well, this is important actually. The Group 8, this is how Agius Andre didn't complete his third heat. We did note he was in the garage early, and this is exactly why. Plonk on the barriers and no point in carrying on. So then, Eric Tato, what have you got? He lost half a second in the first run, he lost half a second in the second. He needs to pull something very special out the back here. Oh! And it's special for the wrong reasons, I'm afraid. Simca Rally 3 body parts absolutely everywhere. It looks like he's going to try and get to the end here, but he's got no front left wheel right now, no rear wheel arches, no front right wheel arch either, no rear bumper, no front bumper, no bonnet. Oh no, and another wheel's gone. Oh, and Javi Rodriguez arrives on the scene. Thank goodness he was out of the way there. That could have got very messy. Well, it was quite messy already, wasn't it? But even worse. So Roosevelt, unless Hristov can do anything special, looks like he's going to be getting the race victory, and indeed third place in the championship. Because Patrick Fossey's not going to score any points. He's going to drop to fifth. Eric Tato's going to stay in fourth. But the drivers either side of him are going to switch around. So Roosevelt, the man we are on board with right now, despite having only competed in the second half of the season and 2 8th places, is still going to be third in this championship. A great season from the Hungarian, and maybe a suggestion of things to come in 2022 from him. Roosevelt, remarkably consistent today as well. 3 attempts cover his 3 times. Here's Mikko Hristov. Javi Rodriguez, despite having the slowest time of his day through Heat 3 there, has also been equally as consistent, by the way, on a side note. This is David Dupre we're on board with, and a very important lap for him because John Spider will be bearing down on him for that 4th place. The front 3 positions seem to be pretty locked in. 1, 2 and 3. But behind that, there is a conversation ongoing. Now, Hristov, good lap time towards the end. And it might just be good enough for 2nd place. And it is. So Mikko Hristov steals 2nd away from Tato right at the end. He's going to be very disappointed with that, is Eric Tato. David Dupre with his best lap time of the day as well. There. Does that secure him a 4th place, though, is the question. This is the only man who can do anything about it. The Group H champion here this season. Oh, it's wide, kicking up the dust. It might not quite be good enough. He needs to do a 24.1 or better. A 24.0 would make it safe and not down to the hundredths of a second, which it would be otherwise. Let's see, final corner. Down on the brakes. Seems to be conservative. Has he done enough there, John Spider? It might well be 5th here for the champion. I don't think he's going to care too much, but he's only finished outside of the top 5 once, by the way, when he didn't finish at all. Spider at 26.6, and it's not good enough, I'm afraid. 5th place for him on the day. And we're going to be able to watch the rest of the drivers coming in. Valadis Corrales. is coming towards the line. Just finished now. Finishes his season. The 2 times he did get in were very consistent indeed, but neither were good enough to beat Javi Rodriguez. It's another second place for Valedis Corrales. To add to his collection of 6 already, that's the 7th now to his name. On board with Flo Mulo in the Simca Rally 3. 3rd place for that car here today, but a team's championship, or at least part of a team's championship. Eric Tatol, of course, for Equipe Regal, partnering with Sebastian Runner. The 40 points they gained today was much more than the 9 points they needed to make sure of it. And either way, only 18 points to GSR team. They were never going to get anywhere near the eventual champions. Murillo is making his debut this 2021 season, in case you haven't been with us. He gets towards the end of this course. Change of direction over the bumps there, very difficult indeed, but Murillo has dealt with it well. It's probably going to be 6th place for him. He's not going to break into the top 5, but hopefully we can see him back in 2022 for another challenge at this one. Further down, that might well have been David Tashev of Bulgaria. Didn't quite get long enough to quite see who that was there. Could have been Tashev in the Volkswagen Corrado. He's back in the garage now, and I think that's the 2nd time he might have DNF'd today. I'd be surprised if we get to 20 to the end here with 2 representative times, actually, looking at the way things have gone. And quite an attritional one once more. Pedro Rebello on board with him. Also his debut today. Five drivers currently out there on the course as things stand. Is Louis Lecroix on board with him. He's next across the line. He's got a bit of suspension damage going on there. You can see left hand down. And he's going to slide his way into the car park at the top of San Giacomo. He has got... there's actually a hotel up here, by the way. It's the hotel car park they keep sliding into, in case you're wondering. There's 2 on each side of the road at this stage. Finish it at the top today, by the way. We're in the Marche region of Italy, but it finishes pretty much on the border with the Abruzzo region. You see, we're about to see here as Pedro Rebello is about to slide across the line into the famous hotel car park. As it, basically about now, he's crossed into Abruzzo, into a different region of Italy. So we are right on the border here with this climb. As I mentioned, a very mountainous region, despite it not being the Alps or the Dolomites. Final, well, it's now 3 because Nelson Ignacio has just come across the line. Final 3 drivers of this 2021 season about to complete their hill climbs. You know, the Coppa Paolino Teodori climbing up to San Giacomo from Colle San Marco. Yes, these guys have come all the way from Ascoli Piceno as well, I guess. The town at the very bottom, where this hill climb, of course, used to start, and Pedro Barbosa going for a bit of a spin. I think that's Barbosa. It just seemed a little bit too open for how early he was in the course, but no, it was indeed him. He's been the rear gunner throughout this evening. coming across the line last on each occasion. And he will do that once more. Just clonking into the barriers slightly there. As you can see. John Canelopoulos has also come across the line for the final time this season, by the way. 49.4 for him. Bruno Guedes completes his debut as well. We're on board with the final man across the line this season. The final run of the European Hill Climb Championship in 2021. You can see, by the way, he's been able to open the taps here, the change of direction over that famous bump. He is towards the end. This final right-hander hairpin, the big braking zone. Bit of a sharp incline on the exit and then the slight flattening off towards the end here, reaching some real big speeds. It's kind of a blind crest as well here before the most dangerous corner on the circuit, or on the climb I should say, and over the line for Pedro Barbosa to end us off here this evening at the Coppa Paolino Teodori. So to end things off, and I'm sure we're going to be looking at some of the highlights throughout the evening, I'll go through the standings from tonight, of course, and the champions as well, before I going to give you a bit of an insight as to what you can expect over the next few weeks here on GTR 24H. You need to SCSS 3000, it's Sebastian Renard who's taken the victory. A very important one, is 11th in a row. An unsurprising one, I have to say, ahead of Mark Best, who edged out Francois Corratti for second place on the day, but also in the championship as well. Only 3 drivers once again in that category, but it was very competitive right towards the end, with the Canadian Best getting himself into second. E1 Plus 2000 has Tobias Bashadov at the top of it on the day, and indeed in the championship. Antonis Paranopoulos not here, unfortunately. He wasn't able to challenge the German for that title on the final day. Agius Andre second, ahead of George Mallis, who came in third. Group H, of course, the most numerous with 11 drivers, but the top 5 were headed by Andras Rossival, the Hungarian driver who managed to take his 3rd win of the season, despite the fact he's only been here for 6 of those races. Let's see what he can do in 2022. He was ahead of Mitko Hristov, who was actually only half a second down on him by the end after a late charge from the Bulgarian. Eric Tato was edged out in the end, and he was 3rd. David Depre held on for 4th, and John Spider, the champion, in 5th. Finally, E1 2000 was won by Javi Rodriguez for the 10th time this season. Valadis Corrales was 2nd for the 7th time in 2021. In the drivers' standings, it is, of course, Equipe Regal who are going to take the team's championship by quite a big margin in the end after extending their lead over GSR team here today. Sebastian Renard's extended his championship victory in E2 3000. Chris Bennett, of course, had no challengers in his. Tobias Bashadov wins E1 Plus 2000 by 32 points, the closest of all of the categories here on show this year. John Spider extended his win in Group H, and it was Javi Rodriguez doing the same in E1 2000. Looking ahead with regards to hill climbing here on GTR 24H, we can announce that we are going to be broadcasting the International Hill Climb Cup in 2022. It's a 6-round championship starting on the 10th of January and ending on the 21st of March. Visiting none of the hill climbs we've had so far here in 2021 in the European Hill Climb Championship, so do stay tuned for those. They're going to be completely different hills throughout January, February and the end of March, when it all ends in Greece in that 6-round championship. So make sure you join us for that. Mondays at 9:30 in Europe, as we have been throughout this season. 2 weeks between each race, of course, so 1 week on, 1 week off. And all broadcasted live here on GTR 24H. coming up. It's not the end of our year here at GTR. We've got, I believe we've got two sprint series races before 2022's opening, but we've certainly got one, and that's coming up in 10 days' time. The Sprint Series Season 2 opener at Monza is coming your way. Make sure you join Yusuf bin Sahel, and I believe Kieran McGinley for that particular race. Certainly Yusuf's going to be there. He will not be missing any of the Sprint Series races if he can help it, I would imagine. Very much a big fan. Very much going to be leading that. Very much going to be leading that championship for us commentators, as I do here on the hill climb. We'll kind of share the duties for the endurance, of course, but make sure you stay tuned here at GTR 24H. We've got a lot coming up. Sprint Series starting in 10 days. Endurance Racing World Championship in just under 2 months. More hill climbing coming up starting on the 10th of January. Make sure you join us for those. I hope you have enjoyed the show here this season and indeed tonight. My name's been Ewan O'Leary, and we hope to see you again in 10 days' time for the opening of the Sprint Series. For now, though, from all of us here at GTR 24H, it's goodbye for now.
The 2021 virtual Coppa Paolino Teodori Hill Climb is presented in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Elite Gaming, ESTV, and MotorVision.tv.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.